Alright, I actually covered a commentary chain again, now back to your regularly scheduled defense of popular thing registered trademark. So today we're covering a more mainstream commentator called Neko Koda. She recently branched out and decided to do a review on Has Been Hotel since it was getting a new TV show, and I had some issues with it. I think you mean we had issues with, since I'll be the one! Can we not do this? Please?
I beg your pardon.
Well, it's just that you already covered a review of Has Been Hotel on my channel, and I really don't want to put out the same video twice. Oh, that's a simple fix. You cover the video solo, and I support you from the sidelines, offering up counterpoints and witty banter. Well, that's normally... Oh, speaking of which, will that strawman character you have be joining us? That's Miss Strawman, and I don't know where she's been lately. Oh dear. Well, I guess I don't have a choice, but you need to leave when the video's over. Agreed? More than fair, so let's get this show on the road!
Day you die, I'll have my payment. Your eternal soul's enslavement. Did you divine our dark arrangement? You were lovely entertainment. The dark desires you've been serving.
In this review, I will only be looking at the pilot episode of Has Been Hotel and giving my thoughts on it. I will try my best to be as objective as possible and not let my opinion get through, but there will be a few times that my opinion will slip in.
So I'd like you all to keep this in mind, my dear audience. We'll be getting back to it in a fair bit. Ugh, ham. Thank you, I try.
Now, without further ado,
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to our first installment of Pedantic Productions, the part of the video that focuses on editing issues that only 10% of you care about. Skip to this timestamp here if you want to get to the actual points. I think they get it, Al. Can you let me take the floor, please? Anyway, the first issue I have with this intro card is that the vast majority of it is just sped up clips from the pilot. They don't really sync up with the music, and there aren't any added effects or transitions to make them pop or seem visually interesting. Now that said, if Koda was just trying to go for a more simplistic intro, then that would be fine, but that leads me to my second issue, the length. If the intro was flashier, then I wouldn't mind it being 30 seconds long, but since a good chunk of this intro is just sped up clips, and that the only information this intro gives us is just, hey, I'm reviewing Has Been Hotel, then that makes the intro feel very dragged out since there isn't much going on. Granted, there is that bit at the beginning that tries to be flashy, but that has its own problems. Such as how two of the PNGs you're using don't move after they show up on screen, which makes the intro feel very static, the placement of said images being off-center, and how the images just up and disappear out of nowhere with no smooth transition. If I can make some suggestions, I'd recommend that you try and add some more keyframing into the clips and stills you put on screen in order to make them match up with the music, since a little movement can go a long way. Or, if you don't want to waste so much time on an intro card, just go the video essayist route and put the title of your video over a short clip from the show.
Has Been Hotel is a story about our main character Charlie. She has a dream to rehabilitate demons through a hotel. Now, this concept doesn't sound terrible on paper, but oh, it gets so much worse. Charlie goes on a news story to discuss her projects, and she talks about slaughter and people not being given a chance.
We just went through another extermination. We lost so many souls, and it breaks my heart to see my people being slaughtered every year. No one is even given a chance. I can't see the Bible, please, so I've been thinking, is there a more humane way to handle population here in hell?
Now, you see here, they set up that people who live in hell are getting killed, and they also have mentions of a turf war. What if I told you they threw that all the way for a stupid joke?
I'm gonna kill him. Too late, Toots. Wait, would that make me double dead? Where exactly do I go? To double hell? Sorry, you're stuck with me, bitch. Get used to it.
This character, Angel Dust, who may I add is mostly here for cheap gay and sex jokes, completely contradicts everything else that was set up until now. Angel Dust implies that you can't die in hell. So what was the point of any of this? So what's the point of the turf wars? What's with the slaughter? Can they die or can they not die? My only thought is that maybe people in hell can still be harmed, but if that's the case, then they're not being slaughtered and they're still alive.
Koda, that joke doesn't automatically imply that they can't die. It could also imply that they don't know where they go after getting killed in hell. Even then, you mentioned that this joke came from a comedic relief character who's just a series of cheap sex jokes. So it's entirely possible that Angel Dust doesn't actually know anything about this and just said it to make Vaggie upset. However, that's ignoring that there is evidence in the pilot that shows people can die in hell. Namely, the show's intro, where we see a pile of corpses strewn about after the extermination, the yearly tradition where angels from heaven come down and kill everyone that happens to be on the streets in order to curb overpopulation in hell. Which was also the thing Charlie was referring to in the clip you showed.
We just went through another extermination. We lost so many souls, and it breaks my heart to see my people being slaughtered every year.
So regardless, it's been shown that people can still die, so it's likely that Angel's joke meant nothing at the end of the day. That said, even if they couldn't die in hell, there would still be a point to the turf wars, that being power and control over territories, and this was another thing that was stated in the show itself.
After the recent extermination, many areas are now up for grabs. Demons all over hell are already duking it out to gain new territory.
Even if they couldn't die, there would still be people fighting for power and control over territory, especially since hell is a place where sinful and corrupt people end up. So your point's actually wrong in two aspects.
Maybe I'm looking too deep into this. Anyway, Charlie goes on a news show to present her idea. When nobody takes her seriously, she decides to start singing.
I have a dream, I'm here to tell about a wonderful, fantastic new hotel.
Now, this is all subjective, but I really don't like this part. I don't know why, whether it's the way it's sung or the lyrics, but it's just not appealing to listen to at all.
Actually, I could agree on that. I'm not really a fan of the song either because the way it's auto-tuned makes the singing sound very shrill, especially on the high notes. However, considering that this is a review that's describing what you think about the pilot, do you think you could have spent more time thinking up some reason for why you dislike the song? Since at the end of the day, a review is supposed to convey what you like and dislike about something, and saying, I don't know why, I just don't like it, gives your audience no frame of reference for where you're coming from. I get that sometimes the words just aren't there when you want to describe something. Believe me, I get that problem a lot when scripting too. But in that case, you should take some more time to think about the song and what aspects about it annoy you, since just saying, I don't like it, makes for a very shallow review.
After the song, Charlie gets laughed at by everyone and a fight breaks out. We then cut to Angel Dust giving exposition to a new character, Cherry Bomb. Keep in mind, Angel Dust here says he doesn't care at all about the hotel while killing a bunch of demons. Or is it killing, or is it just harming? I don't know at this point. Angel Dust isn't a good person. That much is very, very obvious. Keep that in mind.
Daddy.
Oh, and then there's that. I get it, it's a show for mature audiences, but Angel Dust makes so many sex jokes that not even a middle schooler would laugh at it.
This point is veering dangerously close to subjectivity. If I can advocate, Koda did not say she would always be objective. She did mention that there would be a couple times where her opinion would show up. Yeah, but notice how unlike her last point, this isn't framed as, I don't like how many sex jokes there are, and is instead framed as, there are so many sex jokes not even a middle schooler would laugh at it. Which would imply that Koda's trying to frame this as an objective issue with the pilot, in which case it's really not. There are people with very immature senses of humor that could very well get a laugh out of all the sex jokes. Dark comedies are full of dark jokes, children's shows are full of juvenile jokes, and likewise, blue comedies are full of sex jokes. So the abundance of them isn't inherently an issue. Well, unless the jokes only rely on shock value, which tends to dwindle upon repetition. However, that's actually not the case here, since there's more wordplay to these jokes than Koda's letting on. Since if you looked at the first joke Koda showed...
Oh, harder, Daddy. Son?
The harder daddy line was actually a setup to Serpentius' joke, since Angel saying daddy reminded Serpentius of his apparent lost son. Now, does this come out of nowhere? Yes. Could that hurt the setup of the joke? Debatable. Regardless, there is still more to this joke than just lol sex, which is what you seem to be implying.
Vivzy Pop, you know saying, can I suck your dick isn't a joke, right?
And this was also the case with a couple of other jokes he used as examples as well.
Speaking of style, is your hat, like, alive or something? Oh, well, that's none of your goddamn business. Now is it? Would that make your hat the top and you the bottom?
Top and bottom. Hats are typically on the top of people's heads, and since it's alive, Serpentius would be the bottom of the situation. This is a form of wordplay and isn't just a sex joke for the sake of a sex joke.
I'm going to blow you to bits! Kinky.
Now with this one, I'll agree with you on, since the only punchline to this joke is Angel Dust gets turned on by violence. However, this is the only joke Koda shows that has no additional setup, payoff, or wordplay to it. So as is, it's not that big of a deal since it's not as repetitive as she's making it out to be.
And what can you do, my effeminate fellow?
I can suck your dick.
Ha! No.
Again, this was another form of wordplay. Alistair was asking Angel Dust what he could do for the hotel since he was looking for some staff to run it.
So where is your hotel staff?
Well...
Oh, you're going to need more than that.
And Angel replied with a crude remark to subvert his expectations. Not to mention that Alistair's surprised reaction added some payoff to this joke.
Hey.
Go fuck yourself.
Only if you watch me.
Hey Vivzy Pop, you know saying, "Can I suck your dick?" isn't a joke, right?
Again, wordplay. Husk told Angel to have intercourse with himself since he wanted to be left alone, while Angel then took that statement literally and invited him to watch. The joke is mainly sexual, yes, but it doesn't just rely on that since there was a clear play on words that makes it more than just lol sex.
I'm not saying you can't have lowbrow humor like this, but this is basically the only type of joke Angel Dust makes.
Let me know when you come up with something creative to call me, you sack of poorly packaged horse shit. Clean for 2 weeks!
Holy shit.
Well, sorta clean. As clean as you can get while doing a shitload of Bolivian marching powder.
Not with turf wars that result in territorial genocide.
You win some, you lose a few hundred.
Your little stunt made us look like a fucking joke.
No, babe. Jokes are funny. I made you look, sad and pathetic. Don't get your taco in a twist, baby.
Was that you trying to be sexist or racist?
Whatever pisses you off more.
Yeah, I think Angel's jokes have more variety than you're letting on.
I'm not even saying sex jokes can't be done. There's a comedian named Josh Wolf who has whole stand-up routines just about sex and porn bills and masturbation. The difference is, he has twists and turns that actually make it funny and entertaining to listen to, instead of just sex.
And that, everyone, is why I bothered analyzing almost every joke Koda showed, since most of them have more wordplay setup and payoff to them than just Angel stating he likes sucking prostate.
In the next scene, our two main characters, Charlie and her girlfriend Vaggie, are scolding Angel Dust for not caring about the hotel and ruining their reputation. Nothing really important here, just Angel Dust being an asshole and dialogue that restates what we already saw.
So, you remember those examples of non-sexual jokes Angel Dust makes that I showed not too long ago, right? Well, 3 of those examples happened in the scene Koda's talking about now. And the fact Koda acknowledges this scene, yet ignores all of the parts that go against her point about how Angel's jokes handled no variety, comes off like she barely paid attention to anything that wasn't plot relevant. Now, if this was just focused on criticizing the plot of Hazbin Hotel, then this wouldn't be an issue, but considering how she's also criticizing the humor, then the fact she pretty much ignores every other non-sex joke Angel Dust makes pretty much ensures that she's ignoring a vital part of what she's supposed to be critiquing.
We then have a scene where you see the hotel itself. One thing to note, Charlie is the princess of hell, yet the hotel is run down. Wouldn't, royalty have a bit more money? This is never explained.
I mean, this is a pilot episode, not everything is going to be explained right off the bat. You could even argue that since everyone in the studio clearly treats her idea as a joke, it would make sense for the royal family to not give her too much money to one of Charlie's passion projects because they viewed it as ridiculous. It was even implied that the royal family didn't support Charlie's endeavors, since when she tried to call her mom for help...
Hey Mom, I know I keep calling, and you must be busy. Really busy. But, the interview didn't go well, and... I don't know if I'm going to make a difference. I don't know what I'm doing. I could really use some advice, Mom. I think Dad was right about me.
Sure, this isn't flat out stated, but it's heavily implied. And frankly, a show asking you to read in between the lines isn't an objective problem with it.
In this scene, we see Angel Dust feel bad for a split second. Where did that come from? I was under the impression that this dude was a cold asshole, and now all of a sudden he feels sorry for Charlie out of nowhere? That's not how character development works. Nobody flips a switch all of a sudden that quickly for no reason.
Koda, Angel felt sorry for half a second and brushed it off. It's kind of silly to expect him to be completely cold and heartless every moment he's on screen. It's not inconsistent to have a hint of regret from time to time. Especially since unlike every other scene where Angel Dust mouths off to people, Charlie isn't fighting back. So when he poked fun about how the hotel was a bust...
It's probably a good idea to get some actual food in this place, to feed all the wayward souls you got in here.
He was basically kicking someone while they were down, which was something he didn't do until this point. So it's not like there isn't a reason either. But Luckster, couldn't the fact they didn't make this abundantly clear to the audience be considered an objective flaw with the pilot? Well, by that logic, I could say that going out of your way to justify every character moment as opposed to using subtle implications to let the conversation flow naturally would give your story all the emotional impact of a toddler's storybook, but honestly, that highlights a problem I have with Koda's objective reviewing style in general that I'll go more in depth on in my final thoughts.
We then get introduced to a new character, Alistair, the radio demon. The important thing about this character is, he is dangerous.
Alistair manifested in hell, seemingly overnight. He began to topple overlords who had been dominant for centuries.
He offers to help Charlie with their hotel. Why?
Why do you want to help me if you don't believe in my cause?
consider it an investment in ongoing entertainment for myself. I want to watch the scum of the world struggle to climb up the hill of betterment, only to repeatedly trip and tumble down to the fiery pit of failure.
Because he wants to see people who try to get better fail. You know, the exact opposite thing Charlie is trying to achieve.
He's a deal maker, pure evil. He can't be redeemed. And is most likely looking for a way to destroy everything we're trying to do.
We don't know that.
Yes, we do, bitch! Yes, we do! Not too long ago, he says he wants the people who come in to crash and burn, and now you're just gonna trust him like that? I get it, Charlie's supposed to be a positive character, but she's just plain stupid. This isn't even only the audience knows it. No, he says it directly to her face that he wants to work against her interests.
So, what other choice did Charlie have here? Her advertisement for the hotel ended in disaster, Alistair was the only one who took an interest in her project, and the hotel was already a ghost town without a single client in sight. Even though Alistair doesn't have good intentions, not accepting his proposal would have led to the hotel dying anyway, which is something that Charlie definitely would not want. And it's not like Charlie completely trusts Alistair either, since in the clip you cut out, Alistair offered to turn this into a magical deal, where Charlie declined and ordered him to help out instead.
Okay, so, Al, you're sketchy as fuck, and you clearly see what I'm trying to do here as a joke. But I don't.
So it's a deal then?
Nope, no shaking, no deals. As Princess of Hell and heir to the throne, I, hereby order that you help with this hotel, for as long as you desire.
Which would show that she's not dumb enough to give him complete control over the entire project, or be allowed to put her into a much worse situation.
The rest of the pilot is Alistair cleaning up the hotel and making it look better. Nothing really else of substance. What can I even say about this show? The main character is a bubbly idiot who's reaching for a goal which is literally impossible. And don't give me the excuse that it's an underdog story. The way the pilot is set up, she should crash and burn. The only people working on her hotel either want it to fail or are helping for selfish reasons. My Hero Academia started with an underdog story, but Izuku was given a reason to believe his dream was possible. Charlie isn't given that at all.
What? This idea that an underdog story can only work if the goal is possible completely misses the point of an underdog story. Since those narratives are entirely based around the idea of defying cultural norms of what is and isn't possible. My Hero Academia isn't a good underdog story just because All Might magically gave Deku a superpower. It's a good underdog story because Deku, somebody who spent his entire life without a superpower, constantly trains as much as he can to use his newfound power, and becomes the hero he always dreamed of being, despite all of the bullies and naysayers like Bakugo saying he couldn't. If anything, it could be argued that All Might giving Deku a superpower that he had to learn how to use, instead of Deku trying to be a powerless superhero like Captain America or Batman, would be a cop-out. Since it dodges the question of how quirkless people don't have the same opportunity in their society as supers, while in Hazbin Hotel, the fact that everyone is against the hotel at least provides a challenge to the show's main question, is it possible to rehabilitate those who don't want repentance?
I've got better things to do.
Why do I care so much, you might be asking? As of today, the pilot episode of Hazbin Hotel has 45 million views, and a very large fandom behind it. But I gotta ask, why? This series is akin to a high schooler's fanfiction in terms of writing. It started with an okay-ish idea, but then turned to garbage.
Oh yes, how does anyone tolerate this show? How do they not see the flaws? By which I mean what I perceive as flaws, of course. I'm going to end it here, since that basically sums up my thoughts on this review as a whole. The objective points of this review could either be torn apart by the portions of the video Koda skipped over, missed the point of what the show was going for to begin with, or are based on their own subjective stance on what they found to be funny. And the one point that tried to be subjective was just insubstantial. If I could give you 3 pieces of advice: 1, make sure to rewatch the thing you're reviewing and pay close attention to every scene, since the fact you didn't even address the pilot's intro song or Sir Pentious' introduction leads me to believe that you just skimmed over them and assumed they were irrelevant. 2, if you're going to do more reviews, I'd recommend you drop the whole objective review shtick and just focus on giving your own perspective of a show. Now yes, there are elements of a show that can be critiqued objectively. However, not everyone will agree as to how severe those problems are, and that is where one's own subjective perspective comes into play. And that's even ignoring how what counts as a flaw can vary depending from person to person, or could even be based on a lack of information, which makes this type of review a lot riskier to do, since if you miss some important details, well, then the review's not really objective anymore, now is it? Finally, don't end off a review with, why do people like this? It's so bad. It's fine to not get why something's popular, but when you call the show trash and try to claim your criticisms are objectively correct, not only does it come off as condescending towards the people who like the pilot, but it also shows a lack of interest in trying to understand anyone else's perspective on the show. That's all I have to say, so thank you for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the video.
Sorry, I don't mean to alarm you. If you asked me to stay, I would be charmed to. You all have such cozy little lives. How do you survive? Like that I wish I knew. But you've got a lovely little secret. You're tired of feeling awful small. So you give Mr. Alistair a call to make a deal. because you're hungry for the sights. You wanna see them or tweet away.